It is officially fantasy playoff season, so now more than ever, we need to be making the right decision pretty much every time. Today, that's the goal. If you have any questions about your lineup or you just want a second opinion, drop it in the comments. I'll get back to you as quick as I can, but let's get into it. Let's kick off this video with accountability. Last week, we were 6-2. Of course, if you see a green strip, we got it right. Red, we got it wrong. We are 55-23 on the year. We're not perfect, but we're pretty good. Let's kick it off here with our weekly defense. It is the Houston Texans, and I think you're saying, oh, and no duh, they're a great defense, and I hear you, but they're available. 42% owned in Yahoo leagues, 44 in ESPN leagues, and it's similar across different platforms other than those big two, but they're playing Dallas on Monday night, so they can save your week potentially, and they're facing Cooper Rush, and that's the biggest thing. Dak Prescott is not in the picture, so it's going to make this offense very predictable as if it was not already. But this is a team that is desperate to get back in the win column. They've lost 2 straight. Last week against the Lions, they should have won, where they played really good in the first half. They're going to have tons of opportunity to get defensive scores in this game against the Dallas Cowboys, and that's why I think it's a no-brainer. We're going to start the Houston defense. I got a sleeper pick here for you guys, but it is Bo Nix, and again, he's available as well. 35% in Yahoo leagues, 50 in ESPN, so he may or may not be there, but I think there's a good chance a guy like Bo Nix is on your waivers. But he's been the quarterback 5 over the last 3 weeks, averaging 21 fantasy points a game. This week, he plays Atlanta. It is the 8th best matchup for the quarterback position. He's at home. Courtland Sutton and him have finally found their connection. This offense is now so relying on his arm more so than the run game, and it's bringing fantasy production. So I'm excited to see what he can do going forward. The week after, he plays the Vegas Raiders. So he actually might not be a bad pickup as of right now. But Bo Nix, we're going to say start him as well against Atlanta. Let's stay in that matchup, but this time at the running back position. Look, Javonte Williams, I love the player out of UNC. I wanted my Browns to get him. Heck, even if he were still to go to my Browns, I love the player and the idea of that. But he's still the lead back in this Denver Broncos offense. In a Sean Payton offense, mind you, which usually revolves around the running back position, he's getting 14 to 15 touches a game, which is good volume for a lead back for our fantasy teams. However, that production is not leading to anything. He's the running back 32 over the last 3 weeks. He's not giving us much with this production that he's getting. He's playing Atlanta, which is just about a bottom 10 matchup for running backs this season. And this offense has actually been operating better when Bo Nix is throwing more so than handing the ball off over the last month or so. So despite starting Bo Nix, we're going to sit Javonte Williams. Here is the shock of today's video. I give you sleepers, but I also give you one that's a kind of a shock every single week, and this is that shock. And Brian Thomas Jr. is playing Detroit. He is the 3rd best matchup for wide receivers this season. He is the clear-cut #1 option in this offense with guys like Christian Kirk out, of course, for the season. That opens up more targets for a guy like Brian Thomas in this offense. However, over the last 3 weeks, he's the wide receiver 45. That means 44 wide receivers have been better than Brian Thomas. He's averaging 8 fantasy points a game, and this is the thing. He's on the road against Detroit. Tough defense, whatever way you want to split it. He has Mac Jones as his quarterback, who throws more interceptions seemingly than completions. Last week, in a favorable matchup against Minnesota, which is the 2nd best matchup for wide receivers, he only had 3 targets in the entirety of the game, with Mac Jones and the situation being the same. So he's playing Detroit, a team that I think wants a win, a statement win now more so than ever because of how last week played out. This is my shock. I know a lot of you guys love him, but we're going to sit Brian Thomas this week. All right, here's my full list. If you made it to this point in the video, you get my other 6 plays on the week, or 4 plays, excuse me. If you see the X, we covered those in today's video. But Chase Brown, love that matchup against the Chargers. JSN against the Niners. I love that matchup. He always seems to go off against San Fran. Shakir, of course, there in that Kansas City matchup. That's always a high-powered matchup. Even though those offenses have kind of slowed down this year, Shakir, I think, will have a pretty big day. And DeAndre Swift, we're going to sit him, of course, in that matchup against the Green Bay Packers. I think it's a bit of a trap game, let's say. But that's going to do it here for today's video. If you have any questions about your lineup, drop them in the comments. I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Again, we're not perfect, but we're pretty good.